Just listen to White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt bring out the receipts on Trump's key tax demands for Congress. Here, watch this.
So these are the tax priorities of the Trump administration that the president has laid out for members in that meeting today. No tax on tips, which is obviously a very public campaign promise that the president made. No tax on seniors' Social Security. No tax on overtime pay. Renewing President Trump's 2017 middle-class tax cuts. Again, these are the president's priorities. Adjusting the SALT cap, eliminate all the special tax breaks for billionaire sports team owners, close the carried interest tax deduction loophole, tax cuts for Made in America products. This will be the largest tax cut in history for middle-class working Americans. The president is committed to working with Congress to get this done.
So not only is President Trump prioritizing the middle class by eliminating tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security benefits, but he's also lifting the $10,000 state and local tax deduction cap. But you know what the best part is? It's that Trump is actually making sports team owners and hedge fund managers pay for his campaign trail pledges. As Carolyn Leavitt explained earlier, this will be the largest tax cut in history for the middle class working Americans. Hey, by the way, guys, if you're one of the real ones who really enjoy what we do here on the channel, you've got to check out the Inner Circle. This is where our true supporters get exclusive access to content that I just can't share here, completely commercial free. It's also the best way to keep this channel going strong. So if you want to be a part of something special, join us over there. Links in the description or in the pinned comment down below. Then she enumerated the whole list of Trump requests for the Republican-led House and Senate to approve. She called them the administrations. So here, let me go ahead and go through this real quick for you guys. So first up, no tax on tips. So if you're a server, if you're a bartender, or anybody who happens to rely on tips, maybe a barber or hairstylist or whatever, heck, even if you drive Uber or Lyft, this means no more taxes on your tips and more of your money actually stays in your pocket. And the same goes for overtime pay. Work those extra overtime hours and you get to keep every dime. And for our seniors, no tax on Social Security means more financial security when you retire. Like, how do you get mad at that, right? Now, remember the 2017 tax cuts? Well, Trump wants to go ahead and renew those, so middle-class families won't end up seeing their taxes go up. Plus, he's talking about adjusting the SALT cap, which could very well help a lot of working-class folks in high-tax states keep more of their money in their pockets. But here's where it gets really interesting, guys. They're going after billionaire tax loopholes. No more special breaks for billionaire sports team owners, and he wants to close the carried interest loophole, which, let's admit it, right? It just mainly benefited Wall Street elites anyway. And let's talk Made in America, right? He's pushing for tax cuts on US made products, which could boost manufacturing jobs and make American goods more affordable. Bottom line, more money in our pockets, less money going to the IRS, and a stronger economy. Can I get an amen on that one? And the best part, guys, they are working on it as we speak. Trump huddled with lawmakers for more than 5 hours, going so far over schedule that House Speaker Mike Johnson had to cancel a planned meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, he shared behind the scenes. He said they got into a lot of detail on what they need to do, both for the budget and for the reconciliation side, and that President Trump was very engaged throughout the entire meeting. So they're, as he described it, they're narrowing down the areas of differences. And just to remind you guys, they're doing this through the reconciliation process. Now, this is basically one big bill fulfilling President Trump's priorities and all without needing Democrats in Congress. So yeah, definitely a power move from the administration. Scalise didn't reveal any major breakthroughs from the Trump meeting, but he did say that they made very serious progress and are very close to bringing this to the Budget Committee. Speaker Mike Johnson also promised that they will be able to make some announcements very soon, and they're excited about that. So let me know if you're anything like me and you're excited to see some of these Trump tax cuts actually take effect and bring some more of this much needed relief for the American working class. Just drop a quick yes in the comments down below. Hit the like button right there while you're down there. Also, while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate the support, you guys. But yeah, so the Trump administration is definitely making a lot of progress. Apart from the well-oiled political machinery that the president is running, it's also partly because of the other side, the Democratic Party. They just can't make heads or tails of what's next for them in terms of problems. Nationally syndicated radio host Dana Loesch, she put it this way: Democrats just can't uncrazy themselves. Here she is on Jesse Watters' Primetime. Watch.
Dana Loesch is here. So how is the new Democratic Party going in February, Dana?
I think their sanity is on life support, Jesse. The stuff that you're playing is it's scary because it's true. They can't uncrazy themselves. This is a whole ideological belief set that is built on an ecosystem of rewarding this stuff. They reward the craziest people amongst them. They reward the craziest sound bites, the most insane proposals. I mean, to have somebody like Jasmine Crockett say blatantly racist things and there to be no accountability for that while they're simultaneously accusing everyone else of the offenses that they're actually carrying out against everyone. I mean, there's just no self-awareness. And by the way, I have to say, I have no idea what Joe Biden's going to do. This is the first time he's having to work in the private sector, I think, my whole life. I don't know that he's ever worked in the private sector. Maybe they're doing a Weekend at Bernie's part 2 or 3, and he's going for that. That would be great casting. So I could see, CAA having to get involved in that. But this party is off the rails. The only way to go for them is down. They're going to have to completely start all over again from scratch because they're never going to be able to be what they were, like the Kennedy Democrats in the 60s. They're never going to go back to that. The new members won't allow it.
I mean, just take a long, hard look at the top voices of the Democratic Party today, right? So you got Texas Representative Jasmine Crockett. She's always reminding everyone that she's a black woman every 35 seconds, as if your eyes might have deceived you, right? She talked about how with DEI, the only people that are crying are the mediocre white boys that have been beaten out by people that historically have had to work so much harder. Now, I don't know about that because, just look at Trump's approval rating. It definitely seems like America's behind the president and his anti-DEI agenda. But Democrats, they just can't help themselves. When they were appointing a new chair to the DNC, they asked the candidates to raise their hand if they believe that racism or misogyny played a role in Kamala Harris's defeat. Every hand went up, including the audience. Now, guys, this is just downright DEI illusional. When they actually somehow persuaded themselves that the most diverse GOP coalition in our lifetimes elected Trump because they are all horrible racists. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. We do have some moderate Democrats who are actually willing to work with some Republicans on common sense policy. But what do they get in return? Oh, a whole lot of crazy rhetoric aimed against them from progressives and their media allies. Senator John Fetterman from Pennsylvania, for one, he's being chastised by his own party for failing to dutifully freak out at the supposed horrors of the Trump administration. So here's a list that MSNBC put out that Fetterman's acts against the party. Offered positive comments about Trump's goal of acquiring Greenland. Met with Trump at Mar-a-Lago. Joined Trump's Truth Social media platform. Endorsed a presidential pardon for Trump, calling the New York case against the Republicans bullshit. Described Trump as a singular political talent. Met with Kash Patel and seemed reassured that the GOP operative said he wouldn't pursue the names on his enemies list if confirmed as the next FBI director. Co-sponsored the Republicans' Laken Riley Act. Do you see the problem with these people? Perfectly normal lawmaker things to do, but the way Democrats describe it, it's almost like Fetterman is committing treason against the party. It's not just Fetterman. Representative Richie Torres and Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro and even New York City Mayor Eric Adams have come to realize that most Americans, they want compromise. They want sound policies from Democrats, not a constant struggle session about the evils of Trump. But hey, if the majority of the party continues down this track of increasingly unpopular addiction to identity politics, well, they're probably going to end up getting wiped out again in 2028. Now, about USAID. To hear liberal critics describe it, President Donald Trump dismantling of the U.S. Agency for International Development is a disaster. But in reality, it's what happens when you let out-of-control officials disperse tens of billions of dollars in taxpayer-funded foreign aid. Now, going back in history, USAID was formed in 1961 to counter Soviet efforts to spread communism in the developing world, transition former communist countries into U.S. allies, and to respond to global disasters such as earthquakes, epidemics, famine, and war refugees. It did so well. But sometime during the Clinton administration, USAID began to promote radical social agendas such as population control. Under President Barack Obama, they ended up adding LGBT and climate ideologies. President Joe Biden took it over the top with transgenderism during his administration. Needless to say, guys, the agency that started out so well was eventually manipulated to skew far left and purged any conservatives and independents in its ranks. In short, USAID no longer represented America nor its values. Congress Republicans tried looking into it, but they just burned their bridges and refused any kind of oversight over the practices. In 2023, Senator Jody Ernst demanded to know the overhead charges of organizations and companies to see if they were overcharging taxpayers to carry out USAID programs. She was repeatedly stonewalled and her staff threatened. Eventually, she found out that half of aid funds was spent on overhead. A government audit the following year found that USAID could not account for overhead charges of over $142.5 billion in awards, billion with a B. In short, progressives were using USAID as this massive financial boon for their personal interests, all while ordinary Americans struggle to pay their bills. I don't know about you, but this straight up burns my ass. Now, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, he's coming in to separate the wheat from the chaff. Basically, he's going to preserve their foreign aid programs that reflect American values and align with U.S. interests, especially in this era of countering communist China. So this means no more corrupt United Nations agencies, partisan NGOs, and for-profit companies. The Trump administration is going to put in aid implementers that cost less, deliver better results, such as local faith-based groups and businesses, and refrain from ideological access. Now, that's what Democrats don't want you to hear, because otherwise their USAID piggy bank goes bye-bye. Hey, by the way, guys, if you're one of the real ones who really enjoy what we do here on the channel, you've got to check out the Inner Circle. This is where our true supporters get exclusive access to content that I just can't share here, completely commercial free. It's also the best way to keep this channel going strong. So if you want to be a part of something special, join us over there. Links in the description or in the pinned comment down below. Now, I bet you guys are hearing a lot of things about the Trump tax cuts that they're working on in Congress, especially from Democrats who have nothing but bad things to say about the president. But what you won't hear them say, though, is that it's actually helping out the middle class big time. American patriots would know. I mean, just look at this survey from CBS News. Just 3 weeks into his second term, 53% of Americans approve of the job President Donald Trump is doing, a higher approval rating than he ever received during his first term. Seriously, guys, Trump is quickly becoming the people's president. Now, that is if he hasn't already become that, right? Now, just recently, our commander-in-chief, Donald Trump, actually asked congressional Republican leaders to end tax perks for sports team owners and hedge fund managers. Why? So that they can pay for his campaign trail pledges to eliminate taxes on tips, overtime, and Social Security benefits, as well as to lift the $10,000 state and local tax deduction cap. So let me tell you guys, my liberal friends are all in meltdown mode. That's how I know Trump's doing a great job. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, I really just don't even understand it. You got moderates like Senator Fetterman who are willing to work with Republicans on common ground policies, and yet the whole party as a whole still chooses to be led by the most out-of-touch members of their caucus. Just a few days ago on CNN, Texas Representative Jasmine Crockett, she said that she's tired of the white tears. Now, this is in response to the very polar anti-DEI measures that the Trump administration has been implementing. Case in point, the whole USAID controversy, right? So Democrats, they're all about defending the very questionable foreign aid. But as Trump put it, the United States foreign aid industry and bureaucracy are not aligned with American interests and in many cases antithetical to American values. 2 weeks later, he blasted the agency for being run by radical lunatics. To hear critics describe it, the President Donald Trump's dismantling of U.S. Agency for International Development is a disaster. But people who have actually worked there for years, they've said that the agency's fate was already sealed ever since under President Barack Obama, LGBT and climate ideologies were added. Well, President Joe Biden topped it off with transgenderism, requiring that every foreign aid program promote this divisive radical stew, even when it came to food aid to starving refugees. Well, President Trump, he's putting a stop to all this nonsense. And the best part, we got front row seats to the show. So let's go ahead and jump into it, shall we? And real quick, thank you guys so much for hitting the like button. Thank you for subscribing to the channel and for sharing this video. You guys are amazing. So yeah, guys, as CBS News explained on air, he's doing in the eyes of the public what he said he would do in the campaign trail. Here, check this out.
Our CBS poll finds that a majority of Americans, 53%, approve of the job he's doing. That's a better approval number than he ever reached during his first term in the White House. Joining us with more is our Executive Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto. Good to see you, Anthony. What's driving this?
I will keep it simple, Margaret. He is doing, in the eyes of the public, what he said he would do in the campaign. There's political value in that. In fact, 70% of people say he's doing what he promised. That's whether they approve of him or not. Now, there's another part of this that continues over from the campaign. There were words that he was described as being tough, being energetic, and he still is today in big majority numbers. So as people take a look in these first few weeks, there's been a lot of activity. They're getting that general sense of governance, and that's being reflected in these early numbers.
You know what's really surprising to me is that his approval rating, that is President Trump's approval rating, it's only at 53%. Now, is it just me, guys? There's no way that his approval rating is only 53, right? I mean, even my Mexican-American friend told me recently her whole family, friends, husband, and herself fully approve and support of our president 10,000%. With tax priorities like Trump has, like who wouldn't, right? But let me know what you guys think about this. Let me know if I'm making sense to you guys. Drop a quick yes or no in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you. By the way, appreciate y'all hitting the like button. Thank you for subscribing to the channel and for sharing this video.